Peace and love, peace and love. Welcome again to another show of Changing the Game, Series 2. Our oppression is others' economics. For all those tuned in, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, share the video, comment, and let's pull as much information that we could out of today's show. And we would like to hear the feedback from the audience, especially those that have been with us with the first show also. You should have a better context as we go into this show. So for those who just tuning in, catching this show, please go back and also watch the first show, Changing the Game, Being Black in America. Now, for this powerful show, our oppression is others' economics. All right. Islam. Brother Mustafa Bey, Islam. Jervon Wells Ali, peace and love, peace and blessings to all. Looking forward to tonight's topic. Thank you. So go ahead, yes, hit the like button, and please share with friends, family. Islam Noble, Trey Time, peace and love, peace and love. Thank you for joining us. Our oppression is others' economics. Changing the game. Peace, peace, peace. Thank everybody for once again being here for tonight's show. And without no longer delaying, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to share my screen. And once again, for those that's tuning in now, at your convenience, if you haven't seen the first show, please go back and watch the first show. It will be enhancing to the information that you also pull from this show. All right. Screen is up. Thumbs up. Okay. Changing the Game, Series 2. Our oppression is others' economics. That's it. Right here we have a table of contents. So recap, last episode we discussed how Black, Negro are slave labels placed upon us, stripping us of our rights to have rights, which is knowing our nationality. And many of us would think, well, what about African American? Isn't that our nationality? No, that's also as far from our nationality. There's also a modern slave label placed upon us, and it's very ambiguous, just like one's political status being Negro or Black. It's an ambiguous title. It has no descent name. And due to our disunity and lack of exercising our true rights and our nationality of being Moorish American, we are disenfranchised, robbed of land deliberately. And if you haven't seen the first video, please go back and watch part 1 also. Together we stand, divided we fall. You are the secret. We have rights, and how blacks lost their lands. People are familiar with this fella, George Washington, and many other of the founding fathers of the United States. Now, what many of us don't know is many of the founding fathers of the United States were Freemasons and or steeped in owning slaves, beyond what many of us think today as just conspiracies and such. These men created a country on the backbones of a people destined to be hidden and enslaved perpetually by not knowing self. And it's a saying that, I like to quote, slavery is free labor and miseducation is slavery. So of the 39 delegates of the Continental Congress who signed the draft of the new nation's constitution in 1787, only 13 were Freemasons. Now, this is a copyright image of a Freemasonic chart. The significance I would like to point out is the casket seen here or on any other you may research and pull up. This casket represents the foundation of Freemasonry secrets of a buried people in the wilderness of the West, the so-called people of Moorish descent, the so-called black people. We are the secret. And these are but signs stolen from our temples in the old world, paraded before us. And that casket, as we see at the below center, is the foundation of all of Freemasonry. That casket, someone is in that casket. The so-called black people that many believe to be dead. So if you research any Freemasonic chart, then many of the images you see will have that casket with emphasis. Stick together to beat the odds. Amen to that, Brother Mustafa. And that's the importance. We have to stick together. Our unity is more powerful than any weapon that could be formed against us. Now, can everybody see that image? Let me zoom in just a little bit more. That image is a casket and is at the bottom because that's the foundation of Freemasonry. That very casket. Who's familiar with Brother Dred Scott? Who know about the famous Dred Scott decision? That decision was a constitutional case that set the bar on how blacks are received in the United States, chiefly by way of the U.S. Constitution, which is the foundational supreme law of the United States. And the Supreme Court 9 judges are the chief interpreters of the U.S. Constitution. In this case, this decision in 1857, the question in place is, the question is simply this: can a Negro whose ancestors were imported into this country and sold as slaves become a member of the political community formed and brought into existence by the Constitution of the United States, and as such become entitled to all of the rights and privileges and immunities guaranteed by that instrument to the citizen, one of which rights is the privilege of suing in the court of the United States in the cases specified in the Constitution. We think they are not, and that they are not included, referring to us, or shall I say black people. And were not intended to be included. We think they are not, and that they are not included, and were not intended to be included under the word citizens in the Constitution, and can therefore claim none of the rights and privileges which that instrument provides for and secures the citizens of the United States. On the contrary, they were at that time considered as a subordinate and inferior class of beings who had been subjugated by the dominant race, and whether emancipated or not, yet remained subject to their authority, and had no rights or privileges but such as those who held the power and the government might choose to grant them. Now, as the question states, can a Negro, and what is synonymous with Negro, because that's a Spanish word, but in the English translation, Negro is black. So can the black whose ancestors were imported into this country and sold as slaves? See, this is a political status, and this is what we must be mindful of. This political status of Negro is a slave status. And as we went over last show on the Abraham Lincoln case, when the William Dungy case, and Abraham Lincoln stated, we know it is a crime to be a Negro, but it's not a crime to be born with dark skin. And this is a heavy reference to that when we put this in its proper context. So can a Negro whose ancestors were imported into this country and sold as slaves become a member of the political community formed and brought into existence by the Constitution of the United States? And in moving forward, it further states, they had for more than a century before been regarded as beings of an inferior order and altogether unfit to associate with the white race, either in social or political relations, and so far inferior that they had no rights which the white man was bound to respect, and that the Negro might justly and lawfully be reduced to slavery. He was bought and sold and treated as an ordinary article of merchandise and traffic. Whenever a profit could be made by it, this opinion was at that time fixed and universal in the civilized portion of the white race. It was regarded as an axiom in morals as well as in politics, which no one thought of disputing or supposed to be open to dispute. And men in every grade and position in society, daily and habitually, acted upon it in their private pursuits, as well as in matters of public concern, without doubt for a moment the correctness of this opinion. Supreme Court Judge Taney, this was his decision on that Supreme Court case. And as mentioned, so he was bought and sold and treated as an ordinary article of merchandise and traffic. And those who were tuned in last show, when we went over the Dictionary of Races and Peoples, and it stated in there when we looked at the definition of Hamites, because Hamites is another word for comedians, Kemetic, Moors, and it states that Hamites were taken to become Negroes, and the significance in that is the political status. It's referring to us being taken to become Negroes, meaning being placed in an inferior status due to the condition of slavery. And this is the same context that is noted in the United States decision. So how can a black or Negro vote? How can a black or Negro own property? How can a black seem to enjoy the benefits of a free society? Simple. The granted privileges of the 14th and the 15th Amendments. This is the tool used to reconstruct slavery and give us the granted privileges so that way we could be strung along as if we are making progress. This is the so-called amendment that gives us the privilege to vote, the 15th. And these are special laws, supposedly for special people. Reconstruction of slavery, 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. So now we have to ask ourselves, were people voting before the 15th Amendment, which gave us the privilege to vote? Of course, people would vote before then. Chattel property, not of the people, a person, in the corporate tense, a subject, Negro, black, color. Right, correct. Here we have the United States Constitution, 14th Amendment, Section 1. Now, through these Reconstruction Amendments, we were granted privileges to shame the Southern Confederate states that were brought back into union with the Northern Union states after their defeat, which we know as the Civil War. So as it reads, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, if we don't understand the definition of persons and we just go into it with the Webster dictionary of what persons mean and not the legal definition of what persons mean, then we'll have a completely wrong understanding of what's being stated. Because persons can also mean corporations, businesses, partnerships, LLCs. These are also persons. So chattel property can also become persons under the scope of that legal definition. So all persons born, meaning now all blacks born within the United States, are now slaves of the states wherein they reside. And no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of laws. Then we have the 15th Amendment. And this is the granted privilege that gave us the privilege to vote. And as it states, 15th Amendment, Section 1, the right of citizens of the United States. You see, in the right of citizens, as mentioned, true citizens were voting long before the 15th Amendment came. Because this didn't come about till 1870. So we for sure know people were voting beforehand. But this is a special reconstructed amendment to keep slavery perpetual within their confines. The right of a citizen or property subject to their jurisdiction, as we read in the 14th Amendment, of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. So now in reading the Declaration of Independence of the United States on why they separated from England, which are minor reasons on why we should even separate from them, we have greater reasons too. But yet, we have become so dependent due to chattel slavery. Now, in the Declaration of Independence, I'm going to read from the top. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. The separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and the nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impelled them to the separation. Now, emphasis on this paragraph as we go into this section. They state, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Now, self-evident means the proof is in the pudding. We can look around and see with our senses and the analytical skills we have, the very basic, that we need oxygen to breathe. That's self-evident. One does not have to produce a whole report or research to prove that we need air to survive. So, continue. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So it is self-evident that all men are created equal. But what about the Negro or the black, as we were just discussing in the Dred Scott's case? When they mention things such as black man should have no rights that the whites have to respect. This goes back to political status. See, that political status of Negro and black, according to law, is not seen as human beings. Our ancestors had a nationality and they were reduced to those labels. They were not black or Negro before slavery. Because we know in the proper context, black, that word comes from England. And our ancestors had a name before England came with that word for us. Our ancestors didn't wait for England to come about with English to be called black, nor did they wait for Spain to develop Spanish, thanks to us, to be called Negro. So what did our ancestors call themselves before these new nations came on the scene? They called themselves Moors. So certain unalienable rights are guaranteed to us. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And we know really as a people now, right now, that we are being stripped from our life. We are being stripped from our liberty. This is why we have to walk around with masks. We're being forced to due to financial coercion. Oh, since I have a government job, now I have to get the punch. And we ain't talking fruit. So that way I could keep my job and pay my bills. These are the financial position they put us in, so that way we can stay dependent on their system. And many of us are now coerced to go about that journey to get punched because we have to pay the bills. No matter, despite how many of us want to be in rebellion due to the trust of us and this government, and we have all right too. But a lot of us are tied down economically. And we make decisions based off our economic foundation. And this is why we have to unify. put ourselves in a better position. As mentioned, in order for us to secure our rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. We need representation. We have to better organize amongst ourselves to represent each other, not for others to represent us or lead our movements, such as the Black Lives Matter. You seldom see us out there because it's not our movement, and we know this. But the media portrays something else. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. How blacks lost their lands. And to be direct, because we aren't using our proper names and aren't following our principles so that way we can keep our land. They didn't just flat out snatch our land where it could be initially detected. So we would just snap out of the trance that they have us in, being economically dependent, and know we are still in slavery by name. So they did it with the pen. This is where the Jim Crow laws come in. The pen is mightier than a sword. A privilege could be taken, and that's exactly what they did. Through methods passed in legislation, the Black Code laws were a variety of different laws. And many of us may think, well, that's history. These laws are the foundational fabrics of the institutions we are a part of and see today. So it's important for us to know our history. So through the Black Codes laws, they removed our near independence and replaced it with consumerism and fear. The fear for us to do for ourselves. Then came the various organizations and tactics to integrate us. And then mostly none of these integrative organizations promote agricultural development, economic security, economic independence. This was never part of the agenda of organizations like the NAACP, SCLC. And that's why when you look around now, close to no church have agricultural plans. We'll see a mega church, but there's no mega farm. We'll see a mega church, but there's no mega housing, especially in times of crisis. This graph shows the decline in our land ownership throughout the country. And Black farm ownership peaked in 1920. But around that time, the Ku Klux Klan and other groups, they came with the backlash to terrorize independent Black farmers and to so-called keep us with the fear of God, referring to themselves. This is why they call themselves white, because white means pure, clean, holy, ruler of the land, God. But we refer to them as Europeans, or if you know the nationalities, as such. Now, as mentioned, Black people have largely been expelled from the U.S. agricultural landscape. In 1920, nearly 1 million Black farmers worked on 41.4 million of acres of land, making up a seventh of farm owners. Today, only about 49,000 of them remain, making up just 1.4% of the nation's farm owners and tending a scant 4.7 million acres, a nearly 90% loss. And this didn't happen by accident. Since emancipation, Black farmers have had to fight for share of this country's fertile ground due to a history of racist policies and land theft. And this is from the writer Tom Philpott. White people own 98% of rural land. Young black farmers want to reclaim their land. That's the name of the article. So if you could see on this graph, from 1920 to the year 2020, we have went through a 90% loss. That is huge. A 90% loss in land acquisition. Now, who could guess the most demanded currency in the world? What is the most demanded currency in the world? It is the United States dollar. It's not the highest value. That would be the British pound, then the euro, then the US dollar. But the most currency that is wanted, that is in demand, is the US dollar. And that is because we are the biggest consumers. Our people, so-called black people of Moorish descent, are the biggest consumers in this wilderness of North America. Many nationals from other countries come here, and they come here and establish thriving businesses in our communities, giving nothing back but mockery of our condition. We go into their establishments. We're treated harshly. In times of crisis, we have to face price gouging. These are the things we go through when we have foreigners in our communities with established businesses. And we don't have the footing because we've been monopolized out, because we lack the main thing being a raw material, which is accessible to us as we are pursuing hemp agriculture. Now, because we are the biggest consumers, we spend within the United States more than what anybody would even imagine. So now here, of the United States population, we're going to round it to 333 million people. So-called black people make up 14.5%. Europeans make up 61.2%. Hispanics, 16.3%. Now, we make up a very small percentage. Very small. 14.5. However, we spend $1.2 trillion annually on dry grains and veggies. We spend over 50% of the population, and we only make up 14.5% of the population. But we make up half of the consumers in dry goods and veggies alone. 42.76% in baby food. And we are only 14.5% of the population. Personal soap and bath needs, 41.64%. And we are only 14.5% of the population. Deodorizers and air fresheners, 38.29%. And we are only 14.5% of the population. And we spend $1.2 trillion annually. This is a problem, because we spend so much but don't own anything. All of this money is going out, but what is coming in? This is why other countries come here and set up businesses in our communities, because they want a piece of that. They want a piece of that dry grains and veggie business, because our 14.5% make up 50% of the customers. They want in on that baby food industry. So they set up these swap meets and such in our communities because they know we make up 42.76% of the consumers in baby food. These are numbers that we have to really analyze and ask ourselves, what do the time call for us to do? It is time to do for self and buy back the land together. We spend 1.2 trillion, but we own only less than 2%. It's time for us to unify and work together in this endeavor. Jamaica, I know a lot of us like to party. A lot of us, wish to visit Jamaica as a vacation spot. We love Jamaica. People make it seem just, that's where our people are. It is a small percentage, though. Jamaica population is only 2.9 million people. And we make up that 14.5% of that 333 million of the United States population. Of that, that's roughly about 50 million people. In Jamaica, is 2.9 million. We 50 million. And Jamaica have their own land mass. Their GDP, gross domestic product, is 14.78 billion. 14.78 billion. And we spend annually 1.8 trillion. Cuba. A lot of us have Cuba as a vacay spot. This is where, we want to go. It's on our bucket list. And Cuba population is also small compared to us, 11 million in Cuba. And their GDP is 95 billion. Yet, there are people with their own country, their own businesses, their own land, their own schools, their own hospitals, their own transportation services, their own governmental services, their own city political services, that everything you could think of. All these nations have, and they do not even come close to our numbers, nor to the money that we generate. If we were to keep just half or third of that 1 trillion that we put out, if we were to just keep that in-house, we will be financially free overnight. Same for Morocco. Morocco population is 35 million. And their GDP is 110 billion. We still spend 1 trillion. That doesn't come close. 1 trillion, 1.6 trillion annually. And our population is slightly greater than Morocco's, but yet they are a people. They have their own schools. They have their own public services. They have their own healthcare services. They have all these things that all of those who want to be treated equal and sit at the affairs of other nations, they have what we need. This is why it's important for us to band together. It's time for us to get some land and more land. So we extend the invite for the viewers, those that's going to view later. Come join us. Come join us in our great effort to uplift fallen humanity and establish those things necessary for our people to be secure in their freedom, economically, mentally, and spiritually. It's very important that we have land and we work our land. And we're not, just talking about by way of farming. We need land so we could build our own schools on. We need land to build our own communities on, our own homes on. So with that being said, if anybody have, any questions, any comments, let's go ahead and follow up with that. Learning more chronicles, learn more truth, share with us. We need to be in a lawful status in which to be entitled as human. That comes with an officially recognized nationality and governmental body. Very true. Very true. And it's nothing to feel down about. It's nothing to feel you know ignorant about when we don't know something. But we have an open mind and we are able to learn something. Now we have to apply that. So that way that could be applied knowledge. And that's where the true benefit comes from. Many of these slides and things that we presented today are unfamiliar to many. However, it should be a motivation because we still have not only much to learn, we have much to do. Because learning is just a piece of the process. We have to be able to actualize and conceptualize the things we learn and apply it so we could be successful in the application thereof. Yes, we need our own raw material. And that is, one of the chief things that we are working on here at the Embassy of the Moors is growing our own raw material. And if anybody's interested in supporting us, being a part of it, our economic independence plan, please reach out to us by DM, or you can email us at the embassyofthemoors@gmail.com. And please feel free, the viewers, to sign up for membership. Okay, he says about masonry. Okay, the question Siobhan had about masonry. But today, the Masons are spoken so highly upon. Why is that? That's a great question. And, in truth, they are put on a high horse so that way we have something to attain to. This is a separation that was done by European Masons that now gave so-called Black Masons, beginning with Prince Hall, the now permission to be a part of their establishment or their lower secrets. Nevertheless, not all people that are part of Freemasonry have some type of evil or wicked agenda. When we speak of Freemasonry, we are specifically speaking about the elitists, those that are Shriners, those that are third degree Masons. We are not speaking about many of our family members that are part of school unions, that are part of low-ranking Eastern Star organizations. Because we have many family members that are Masons, but we shouldn't look at them with the side eye because the founding fathers of the United States were Freemasons. Our people just have a miseducation. So Freemasonry are our stolen secrets and signs, and they wish to be Muslim, and their best way of expression is what we see as Freemasonry. All right, we're nearing the clock. We have 3 minutes left, and I just want to reiterate to all the viewers out there, give us a like, please leave a comment, share the video. Any comments that you still may have after we end this feed, please still feel free to share it with us. We will get back to you at our earliest convenience. Also, please feel free to join us September 29th, same time, for part 3, Finding the Balance. So if you have any questions, any concerns, any comments, go ahead and reach out to us. September 29th, we'll have our 3rd show of our 6-part series, Finding the Balance. Peace and love to the family. Once again, it has been an honor, it has been a pleasure to be able to present this show to the audience. I would like to give all praise to the Most High for allowing us to reach another day. And please enjoy the remainder of you guys' weeks. Peace and love, peace and love. And don't forget to set a reminder, check your calendars, and follow up with us with our updates on our website at the embassyofthemoors.org. Updates are posted. And for those that are interested in joining the team to help us further with our missions and goals in establishing land acquisition, homes, hospitals, and educating our people to those things that are necessary for us to prosper in life, please reach out to us by DM, or you can sign up on our website. But we are welcoming invites. We are welcoming members to join us with our newsletter team also. Once again, join us September 29th, same time, Finding the Balance, changing the game. Peace and love, family. I'm your host, Brother Adele, and we tune out with another show of Changing the Game, brought to you by Black Unity and the Moorish Rise Facebook group. Those that are on YouTube and are not part of the Facebook group, please, the link should be on our page. Click it, and it should send you straight through. You should have an invite waiting, and we will approve you after the appropriate questions are asked. And please have an actual image. We encourage images. With that being said, thank you. Peace and love. Have a beautiful night. Islam.